"Daddy, I brought you a present for Christmas," said the little girl, pointing at the Apache widow. The town was quiet that December morning, a thin layer of frost covering the streets and the rooftops, sparkling under the early winter sunlight. Children ran with their scarves wrapped tightly around their faces, their laughter echoing faintly across the empty lanes. Among them was little Emma, a bright-eyed girl of 7, whose excitement that day was almost impossible to contain. She clutched a large, oddly shaped box under her arm, the ribbon sliding slightly as she ran toward her home. Her heart raced with the thought of the surprise she was about to give her father, the man she admired more than anyone else in the world. Her father, Captain David Harris, had returned from a military mission a few months earlier. Though he had left for what seemed like a short period, to Emma it felt like an eternity. He was a strong, calm man, someone people in the small town respected deeply, but at home he was gentle and kind. Even the gruffness of his military demeanor softened whenever Emma was around. To her, he was not just a hero in uniform. He was the protector of her world, the one who always knew how to make her laugh and hold her close when she was scared. David had been trying to enjoy a peaceful December since his return. The months had been quiet, almost uneventful. He had taken a desk job at a small security company near town, and life had slowed to a rhythm that felt almost normal. He spent his evenings with Emma, teaching her how to bake cookies, helping her with schoolwork, and listening to her endless stories about her day. Yet there was an underlying tension he could never quite shake. The town had grown used to his absence, but the shadows of his past, missions, dangers, decisions he had made in the line of duty, sometimes crept into his thoughts, reminding him that peace was often temporary. Emma approached the house, the box bouncing slightly against her side. The ribbon had loosened, revealing a small peek of what was inside. Her excitement made her skip instead of walk, and she imagined her father's face lighting up when he saw the gift. The gift was carefully chosen. She had saved her allowance for weeks, picking something she thought he would love. It wasn't just a present, it was her way of saying, "I love you and I am proud of you, Daddy." Inside the house, David was sitting by the window, sipping a cup of coffee, staring at the frost-covered garden. The quiet hum of the heater filled the room, and for a moment he allowed himself to relax, letting the soft morning light warm his face. He could hear faint footsteps on the porch and the sound of the wind moving through the trees. The sound of Emma's laughter reached him, and he turned just in time to see her burst through the door. "Daddy," she shouted, her voice full of joy and urgency. "I brought you a present for Christmas?" David smiled immediately, the tension in his shoulders easing. He had not expected her to be so early, but her excitement was contagious. "A present," he said, setting his coffee aside. "And what kind of present is this?" Emma held out the box, her small hands trembling slightly with anticipation. "Open it, please, Daddy, you'll love it, I promise." She beamed, her eyes sparkling as she looked up at him. There was a seriousness in her tone that made him curious. Usually her excitement was more playful, more childlike. Today there was something different. David knelt down to her level and took the box carefully. It was heavier than he expected, and the shape was unusual, with a long, narrow silhouette that made him frown slightly in curiosity. Emma's smile widened as she watched him struggle with the wrapping. "It's okay, Daddy," she said. "I wrapped it all by myself." "You have to be gentle, though, don't break it." He laughed softly, ruffling her hair. "I promise I'll be careful." The quiet hum of the house was interrupted only by the rustle of paper as he unwrapped the gift. Emma leaned closer, almost holding her breath, and then he saw it. It was not the kind of present one expected to see under a Christmas tree. Its shape was rigid, metallic in parts, and it gleamed faintly under the morning light. David's brow furrowed as he tried to comprehend what he was holding. "Emma, what exactly is this?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying a hint of caution. Emma tilted her head, her small face serious. "It's for you, Daddy. You've always wanted one, don't you like it?" She gestured toward the object with a small, proud wave of her hand. David's heart raced, a sudden wave of concern washing over him. The object she pointed at reminded him of things from his past, things he had hoped never to see again. He gently set the box aside, kneeling fully in front of her now. "Emma, this is unusual," he said, trying to choose his words carefully. He didn't want to scare her, but he needed to understand what she had brought. "Where did you get this?" "I saved my allowance," she exclaimed, her excitement mixing with pride. "I've been waiting for the right moment, and Christmas is perfect. Don't you like it?" David took a deep breath, forcing a smile. I love that you thought of me, Emma. That makes me really happy. He hugged her close, feeling her warmth and the sincerity of her small heart. But some things are very complicated, and maybe this is exactly the kind of present we can play with right now. Emma's eyes widened slightly, a shadow of disappointment crossing her face. She didn't fully understand his hesitation. To her, the gift was perfect. It was a symbol of love, of admiration, and of connection between her and her father. Yet David knew that the appearance of this object could bring danger, and in that moment he felt the weight of the responsibility he carried, not just for himself, but for her, for their small world together. Outside, the town remained peaceful, but a distant hum in the sky hinted at something unseen. David didn't notice it at first, focused entirely on keeping Emma safe and calm. He led her to the kitchen table and poured them both a cup of hot chocolate, hoping the simple comfort of warmth and sweetness might distract her. Emma sipped slowly, her mind still filled with excitement and curiosity. David thought about the months of quiet life they had shared since his return. The streets had been calm, neighbors friendly, and the holidays approaching had promised a simple joy. Yet, as he looked at the gift, he realized that peace was fragile. Life had a way of reaching back into the past and pulling him toward challenges he had thought he had left behind. Emma, oblivious to the weight of the moment, continued to chatter about school, her friends, and her plans for Christmas decorations. Her innocence was a stark contrast to the tension that now threaded through David's thoughts. He smiled and laughed at her stories, careful not to let her see the storm of memories and instincts that had stirred within him. The morning passed slowly, with David keeping one eye on the gift and one on Emma. Each time she looked up with a hopeful smile, his resolve strengthened to protect her, no matter what. The gift, innocent in her mind, had awakened a sense of vigilance in him. He began to consider what steps he might need to take to ensure that nothing from his past could reach them. By noon, Emma had grown slightly tired, curling up on the couch with her blanket. David kept watch, his mind working through scenarios he had long tried to forget. Though nothing had happened yet, he sensed that this Christmas would not be like any other. Something about the way Emma had presented the gift, combined with the distant hum he finally noticed in the air, made him realize that their lives might soon be disrupted. As the sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow across the frost-covered town, David allowed himself a moment of reflection. He remembered past holidays, past gifts, and past dangers. He understood that love, family, and innocence were precious, but also vulnerable. And now, as he looked at the little girl who had brought him this unusual present, he knew that his role as protector was far from over. Emma stirred, reaching for the gift once again, her eyes wide with hope. David took a deep breath, readying himself to face whatever might come next. Whatever the future held, he promised silently that he would keep her safe, that he would guide her through fear and confusion, and that he would cherish the light she brought into his life, no matter how dark the world outside might become. The morning continued quietly, but there was a subtle shift in the air, one that David could feel even if he couldn't yet explain it. The distant hum he had noticed earlier seemed to grow, faintly at first, then steadily louder, like the sound of a heavy machine far away. He glanced out the window, scanning the frost-covered streets and rooftops, but nothing unusual was visible. The town still appeared calm, the children playing and the occasional car moving down the roads, but a knot of unease had settled in his stomach. Emma, unaware of the growing tension, bounced around the living room, glancing at the unusual gift she had brought. "Daddy, can I show you something else I made for Christmas?" she asked, tugging at his sleeve. She held a small piece of paper with a drawing of the two of them, smiling under a Christmas tree decorated with candy canes and sparkling lights. Her innocence and excitement were almost overwhelming, and David smiled, kneeling to take the drawing. "That's beautiful, Emma," he said, placing the drawing on the kitchen table where it could be seen. "You have such a talent for making things special." She beamed, sitting cross-legged on the floor, her small hands busy with crayons and scraps of paper. Yet, despite her focus, David could not shake the sense that something unusual was approaching. His military training made him sensitive to the slightest hint of danger, and the hum outside, though faint, was persistent enough to keep him on edge. He tried to focus on the moment, on Emma's laughter and the warmth of their home, but his mind kept returning to the gift she had brought. Finally, curiosity and concern pushed him to address it again. "Emma, sweetheart," he said gently, "can you tell me more about this gift?" "Where did you get it?" Emma looked up, her eyes wide and innocent. "I saved my allowance," she said proudly. "I wanted it to be perfect for you. I thought maybe you'd like it for Christmas. Don't you like it, Daddy?" David forced a smile. "I love that you thought of me, Emma. That's the best part of any gift, but this is a little unusual. I need to make sure it's safe." Emma's brow furrowed. "Safe? What do you mean? It's just for you." David knelt beside her, taking both her small hands in his. "I know, honey, and I love it. But sometimes things that look nice can also be dangerous, even if we don't mean them to be. I just want to make sure nothing bad happens." She nodded slowly, trusting her father completely, but a part of her still wanted him to be excited, to open the gift and smile the way she had imagined. David kissed her forehead and promised, "I'll take care of it. I promise." After breakfast, David decided to take the gift outside, hoping that the fresh air might help him think clearly. He carried the box to the backyard, where the snow glistened and the garden was quiet. Emma followed, hopping through the snow with her boots crunching against the frozen ground. As David set the box down, the hum in the sky became louder, almost mechanical in tone. He paused, looking up, and finally noticed movement far in the distance. A shadow passed over the sun briefly, and his heart skipped a beat. His training kicked in automatically. He scanned the horizon, trying to identify the source of the sound, but the early morning sunlight reflected off the frost, making it hard to see. Emma tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, come on, open it, please." Her excitement was pure, untouched by fear. She didn't yet understand the tension that David felt. He nodded and carefully lifted the lid of the box, peering inside. The contents were metallic, complex, and far more advanced than anything a child could normally obtain. Even a small glimpse made his heart pound faster. He realized immediately that the item was connected to his past, perhaps even to missions he had completed years ago. It was precise, mechanical, and dangerous if handled incorrectly. Emma leaned closer, unaware of the seriousness of the moment. "It's perfect, isn't it?" she asked. "I knew you'd like it." David forced a calm tone. "It's very impressive, Emma, but it's not a toy. You have to promise me that you won't touch it again until I say it's safe." She pouted slightly, but she trusted him. "Okay, Daddy," she said softly. The distant hum grew steadily louder, and David finally understood that it wasn't just a random sound. Something or someone was approaching. He quickly closed the box, hiding it from view, and motioned for Emma to follow him back inside. "Emma, stay close to me," he instructed. "We're going to go inside for a little while." They moved quickly into the house, closing doors and locking them. David's mind raced through possibilities. The gift itself might have attracted attention, or perhaps it was simply a coincidence, but he could not ignore the pattern. He glanced out the window again and noticed a faint glint of sunlight reflecting off a distant metallic object, moving rapidly toward their town. Emma noticed his serious expression. "Daddy, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He knelt beside her, keeping his tone steady. "Sweetheart, there's something coming toward us. It's nothing for you to worry about, but I need you to stay safe with me, okay?" She nodded, clinging to his hand. "I'm not scared, Daddy," she said bravely, though he could see the tiny tremble in her voice. David moved quickly, barricading doors and drawing the curtains. He kept Emma close, explaining little things to her to distract her, like how the frost on the window looked like tiny stars or snowflakes dancing in the sunlight. Yet in his mind, he was planning his next steps, thinking about how to protect her from whatever danger was approaching. The metallic hum grew louder, now unmistakable. It wasn't a car nor a plane. It was something larger, something dangerous, moving steadily toward their town. David realized with a sinking feeling that the quiet days he had enjoyed were over. His instincts, honed over years of service, told him that the gift Emma had brought, innocent in her mind, might have somehow triggered the attention of someone who knew about him, his past, or the equipment he had once handled. He led Emma to the basement, a small, secure room he had kept ready for emergencies. "Stay here," he instructed. "I'll be right with you. If anything happens, remember to stay calm and trust me." Emma hugged him tightly, her small arms wrapping around his neck. "I love you, Daddy," she whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart," he replied, his heart aching with both pride and worry. From the basement window, he could see the metallic silhouette approaching, glinting ominously in the winter sun. He recognized the shape immediately. It resembled the military equipment he had once worked with, something called an Apache Widow. His breath caught. He had seen these machines in action before, and they were not meant for civilian life. They were designed for precision and danger, and the thought of one appearing near his home filled him with dread. Yet he could not panic. He had to remain calm for Emma to protect her and to face whatever was coming. He instructed her to stay low, close to the wall, and not to make a sound. Every second counted now, and he needed to think clearly. The approaching shadow grew larger, moving steadily across the fields toward the town. David realized that this was no ordinary incident. Someone or something was coming directly for him. He thought back to missions he had completed years ago, people he had crossed, and dangers he had faced. Perhaps it had finally caught up with him. Emma, sensing his tension, clung tighter. "Daddy, is it going to get us?" she asked softly. He kissed her forehead, keeping his voice steady. "We'll be okay, sweetheart, I promise you, just stay here and trust me." As the shadow drew closer, the hum became almost deafening, vibrating through the walls and floors of the house. David knew that their peaceful morning, the Christmas they had hoped to enjoy, had been replaced with uncertainty and danger. But he also knew that he had the skills, the courage, and the love for his daughter that would guide him through whatever came next. In that moment, he resolved that no matter what happened, Emma's gift, her innocent gesture of love, would not be the cause of fear. He would protect her, face the approaching threat, and ensure that this Christmas, despite the danger, they would remain together. The distant machine drew even closer, its metallic form now clearly visible. David tightened his grip on Emma's hand, steeling himself. The quiet town, the frost-covered streets, and the warmth of the house seemed distant now. All that mattered was protecting his daughter and confronting the challenge that had arrived uninvited on this winter morning. The sound grew louder, filling the quiet town with a low, mechanical roar that seemed to vibrate through the walls of every home. David crouched low in the basement, Emma pressed tightly against his side, her small hands clutching his coat as if holding on to safety itself. The object she had brought, the gift she thought was so perfect, now seemed to shimmer in his memory, a reminder of how quickly innocence and danger could collide. Through the narrow basement window, David could see it. The Apache Widow, sleek, metallic, and deadly, moved steadily across the frozen fields, cutting a path through the winter landscape like a shadow come to life. Even from a distance, its design was unmistakable, sharp angles, reinforced armor, and a presence that commanded attention. He had seen machines like this during his years in service, used in missions that required precision and strength. They were not toys. They were instruments of power and, in the wrong hands, instruments of destruction. Emma watched from behind him, her small eyes wide with curiosity and fear. "Daddy, is it going to hurt us?" she whispered, her voice trembling. David held her close, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I won't let anything hurt you, sweetheart. I promise. You just stay right here and don't be afraid." His mind raced. He knew he had to act fast. The streets were open, leaving no natural barriers between their home and the approaching machine. He had to find a way to keep Emma safe while assessing the threat. He considered every option, calling for help, barricading further, even attempting to redirect the machine if possible. Every second counted. The sound grew sharper, louder, closer. Snowflakes danced violently in the wind, stirred by the approaching force, and the once calm morning had become charged with tension. David took a deep breath, centering himself. Years of training, experience, and instincts kicked in. He had faced danger before, but never so close to the life he cherished most. Never with Emma so small, so vulnerable, so trusting in him. He whispered instructions to her. "Emma, I need you to stay down, okay? Behind this wall, don't peek and don't make a sound." "Can you do that for me?" She nodded, pressing herself against the basement wall. "I can, Daddy," she said softly, trying to sound brave. David peeked through the window again. The Apache Widow was now close enough that he could see the metallic glint reflecting sunlight off its surface. Its movements were precise, almost calculated, and he realized with a chill that this wasn't a random machine. It was being controlled, directed. Someone knew exactly where it needed to go. A wave of memories hit him. Missions completed years ago, enemies confronted, moments of danger and critical decisions that had haunted him in quiet nights. Perhaps someone from the past had returned. Perhaps the gift, innocent as it seemed, had drawn attention. He had no time to analyze, he had to act. David moved Emma further into a corner of the basement, setting up a small barricade using chairs, boxes, and anything he could find. "Stay here," he told her. "If you see anything, don't come out. I'll come to you." She clutched his hand tightly, but he knew she would follow instructions. Her trust in him was absolute, and he drew strength from it. The machine drew closer, now almost upon the edge of their property. David could hear the metallic whirring of its parts, the low hum of power, and the faint vibrations through the ground. He peeked again, assessing the trajectory. There was no denying it. The machine was heading straight toward their home. David's mind worked frantically. He needed a way to divert it, slow it down, or at least create a distraction. He considered using obstacles in the yard, anything that could interfere with its path. At the same time, he knew he had to protect Emma first. Every decision had to balance speed, safety, and precision. Emma, sensing his tension, whispered, "Daddy, I think it's here." "Yes," he said softly, "but stay calm, you're safe with me." He moved quickly, gathering tools and equipment from the basement. A heavy flashlight, a portable radio, and anything that could give him an advantage. His eyes darted to the gift she had brought, now a memory of how quickly a simple act could trigger unforeseen consequences. He set it aside for now, focusing on the immediate threat. The Apache Widow reached the edge of the property, its metallic frame glinting in the sunlight, moving with a purposeful hum. David could feel the cold metal of the basement walls vibrate slightly with its approach. He realized that direct confrontation might be unavoidable, that his training, courage, and quick thinking would be tested more than ever. He took a deep breath, centering himself. Memories of past missions provided guidance: assess, distract, and act decisively. He moved closer to the window, taking careful, deliberate steps, ensuring he maintained cover while gathering information. Emma watched silently, holding her breath. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she trusted her father. She remembered the gift she had brought, the excitement she had felt, and for a brief moment the danger seemed distant because he was there. David observed the machine's movement carefully, noting patterns in its approach. He could see the precision of its mechanisms, the way it adjusted direction and speed. It wasn't operating randomly, it had a purpose, and it was coming toward them with intent. He whispered to Emma, "I'm going to make a plan now, sweetheart. You stay right here." "Can you do that?" She nodded, her small hands gripping his sleeve. "I can." David quickly calculated the best course of action. He needed to create a distraction to redirect the machine's path, buying them time. He gathered heavy objects from the basement, chairs, boxes, and even a small toolbox, and stacked them near the basement stairs, ready to create a barrier if necessary. The machine's hum was louder now, vibrating through the floor. He could see it from the basement window, moving with deliberate intent toward the house. Time was running out, and he knew he had to act. David whispered instructions to Emma. "If you see anything coming toward you, duck down. I will take care of it. You just stay calm." Emma nodded silently, hiding behind the barricade. Her small body trembled slightly, but she remained obedient, trusting him completely. With a deep breath, David moved into position, ready to confront the machine. He knew he had to remain calm, act swiftly, and anticipate every movement. Every second was crucial. The safety of his daughter, their home, and possibly the town depended on him. The Apache Widow reached the backyard, and David acted. Using a combination of obstacles, careful timing, and precise movements, he attempted to divert its path, creating confusion in its trajectory. The machine adjusted, its movements sharp, but David's instincts guided him. Every maneuver was calculated, every step deliberate. Emma watched silently, her heart pounding as her father moved with purpose and courage. She could feel the tension, but also the unwavering confidence in his actions. For the first time, she realized the depth of his bravery, the strength that had always protected her. The struggle continued, the mechanical hum filling the air, vibrating through the house and into their bones. David's mind remained focused, his body agile, his decisions sharp. He knew he had to protect Emma at all costs, to stay ahead of the machine, and to find a way to neutralize the threat. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the machine's path was disrupted. It adjusted, but David had gained a few precious moments. He moved quickly, gathering Emma and retreating to a more secure section of the basement. She clung to him, her trust unwavering, and he held her close, whispering reassurances. For now, the immediate danger had passed, but David knew this was only the beginning. The Apache Widow had come with purpose, and he could not ignore the possibility of further threats. Yet in that moment, he allowed himself a brief sigh of relief. They were safe, for now, together in the basement, and he had acted with precision and courage. Emma looked up at him, her eyes wide. "Daddy, we're okay, right?" "Yes, sweetheart," he said softly. "We're okay, for now, and I'll keep you safe no matter what." As the hum faded into the distance, David held Emma tightly, feeling the warmth of her small body against his own. The morning had turned into an unexpected test of courage, love, and trust. The danger had been real, but their bond had been stronger. And as they sat together in the basement, the frost-covered town outside seemed quieter once more, though David knew that the days ahead would bring new challenges, new decisions, and new tests of bravery. David's heart pounded in his chest as he held Emma tightly in the basement. The hum of the Apache widow had faded into the distance, but he knew that this was only a temporary reprieve. The threat was still very real, and the machine, or whoever controlled it, could return at any moment. He took a deep breath, centering himself, and reminded himself of the most important priority, protecting Emma. Nothing else mattered more. He looked down at her small, trusting face, her wide eyes filled with both fear and curiosity. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "are we going to be okay?" David kissed her forehead gently. "We are, sweetheart, I promise. I'll do everything I can to keep you safe. You just stay close to me." Emma nodded, holding his hand tightly. She had always admired her father for his strength, but now she saw him not just as a loving parent, but as someone capable of facing real danger head-on. Despite her fear, a sense of trust and confidence in him gave her courage. David moved cautiously back toward the basement window. He needed to understand the situation more clearly. The snow-covered yard outside was quiet now, almost eerily so, but he knew better than to trust appearances. He could see faint tracks in the snow, tracks that showed where the machine had passed. They were precise, deliberate, and unsettling. It was clear that the machine, or its operator, knew exactly where to go and how to navigate the terrain. He needed a plan, and fast. David knew that direct confrontation was inevitable. There was no way to predict when or how the machine would return, and hiding indefinitely was not an option. He had to be prepared to face it head-on. David gathered a few essential items, a heavy flashlight, a small toolkit, and anything else that could help him defend their home or create a distraction. He moved quietly, careful not to startle Emma. "I need you to stay here," he whispered. "I'm going to do my best to keep us safe." Emma squeezed his hand. "I'll stay, Daddy, I trust you." The bond between them gave David a renewed sense of strength. He had faced countless dangers in the past, but this was different. This was personal. This was his home, his family, and the innocent gift Emma had brought had become entwined with the unfolding threat. The stakes had never been higher. He made his way to the front door, carefully peeking through the curtains. The street was quiet, but the tracks in the snow told him that the threat was still very close. He needed to draw the machine's attention away from the house and create a safe path for them to escape if necessary. David remembered strategies from his military days, using obstacles to disrupt movement, creating diversions, and acting unpredictably to gain an advantage. He moved swiftly, placing heavy objects along the driveway and in the yard, creating a temporary barrier that could force the machine to adjust its course. Each placement was calculated, precise, and deliberate. Emma watched from the basement window, her small hands pressed against the glass. She saw her father moving with determination, his face focused and unyielding. For the first time, she realized that bravery was not about being fearless. It was about acting with purpose despite fear. The machine's hum returned, louder than before, vibrating through the ground. David's pulse quickened. He took a deep breath and positioned himself near the front door, ready to act if necessary. The machine approached steadily, its movements precise and calculated. David could see the reflection of sunlight glinting off its metallic surface, a reminder of the danger they faced. As the machine neared the barriers he had placed, David made his move. He used a combination of careful timing and force to tip a heavy object into its path, causing the machine to shift slightly. It adjusted quickly, but the momentary distraction had bought them precious seconds. David knew that he couldn't rely solely on diversion. He needed to confront the threat directly, and he began formulating a plan in his mind. He would use his knowledge of the machine, his experience from years of training, and the terrain around their home to gain the upper hand. Emma, sensing the seriousness of the situation, whispered, "Daddy, be careful." "I will," David said softly. "Just stay safe and trust me." The machine moved closer, its metallic hum growing louder with each passing second. David positioned himself strategically, using shadows and cover to remain unseen while monitoring its movements. He could see that it was scanning the area, searching for something or someone. His instincts told him that it had been directed specifically toward him, and perhaps toward the gift that Emma had brought. David's mind raced. He thought of the safest possible way to neutralize the threat without putting Emma in harm's way. He recalled past experiences, times when he had to act quickly, sometimes improvising with whatever was available. He knew that calm thinking and precise actions were their only chance of survival. He waited for the perfect moment, watching the machine move closer to one of the obstacles he had set. At the right instant, he tipped another object, causing a loud crash. The machine hesitated, its sensors adjusting to the disruption. David seized the opportunity, moving closer to the basement entrance while keeping out of direct view. Emma watched in silence, her small heart pounding. She saw her father act with confidence and precision, and though fear lingered, her trust in him gave her courage. David continued to create diversions, tipping objects, moving strategically, and using his knowledge of the machine's patterns to stay ahead. The Apache widow's movements became slightly less precise, giving David hope. He knew that he had to remain focused. One mistake could be catastrophic. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as David executed his plan, every action measured and deliberate. He moved Emma to a safer section of the basement, ensuring that she was well protected while he confronted the machine outside. Her eyes never left him, filled with admiration and concern. Finally, David saw an opening. The machine, momentarily distracted by the obstacles and diversions, had created a small path that allowed him to gain a strategic advantage. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the final phase of his plan. Using his knowledge of the machine's design, he carefully manipulated its movement, guiding it away from the house and toward a safer area where it could do no harm. Each step required precision, patience, and courage. He could feel the tension in every fiber of his body, but he refused to let fear dictate his actions. Emma watched silently, understanding now that her father's bravery was not about being fearless. It was about protecting the people he loved, even in the face of overwhelming danger. She clutched the edge of the basement wall, silently cheering him on, her faith in him unwavering. After what felt like an eternity, David finally succeeded. The machine's movement slowed, then stopped entirely, neutralized by the careful strategy and quick thinking he had employed. He exhaled deeply, relief washing over him. Emma ran to him, hugging him tightly. "You did it, Daddy," she exclaimed, her voice a mix of relief and admiration. "I did it," David said, holding her close. "We're safe now, sweetheart, for now at least." They stayed together for a long moment, savoring the relief of survival and the bond that had carried them through the ordeal. David knew that the danger had not completely disappeared, but he also knew that together they were strong. The love, trust, and courage they shared had carried them through one of the most terrifying moments of their lives. As the day turned toward evening, David and Emma began to reflect on what had happened. The gift that had started it all now seemed symbolic, a reminder of innocence, love, and the unexpected ways life could challenge them. David promised himself that he would protect her, guide her, and teach her the strength and courage that had seen them through the ordeal. For Emma, the experience had been a mixture of fear and admiration. She had learned that bravery came in many forms, and that her father's love was a shield against even the most frightening threats. And for David, the day had reinforced the most important truth. Family, trust, and courage could face any danger, no matter how unexpected or overwhelming. The night settled in, quiet and peaceful, as they prepared to face the future together. Though the events of the day would not be easily forgotten, they had emerged stronger, bonded by love, bravery, and the knowledge that together they could overcome anything. The night had settled over the small town, the streets blanketed in snow that shimmered softly under the glow of streetlights. Inside their home, David and Emma sat together in the living room, wrapped in a warm blanket, their hearts still racing from the day's events. The hum of the Apache widow was gone, and for the first time since morning they could breathe fully, knowing that the immediate danger had passed. Yet the events of the day had left an imprint, one that neither of them would forget any time soon. Emma leaned against her father, her small hands holding onto his arm. "Daddy, is it really over?" she asked, her voice still a little shaky. David smiled gently, brushing her hair from her face. "For now, sweetheart, we're safe and we'll stay safe. I promise." He paused, looking around the living room, the familiar sights of their home bringing him a sense of calm he hadn't felt all day. The warmth of the fireplace, the smell of cocoa, and the faint scent of pine from the small Christmas tree in the corner reminded him of simpler, peaceful moments, the ones he wanted to protect Emma from, no matter what. Emma thought about the gift she had brought earlier, the one that had seemed so perfect in the morning light. Now she understood that it had triggered something she hadn't expected. "Daddy," she said softly, "I didn't know, I just wanted to give you something special." David pulled her close, holding her tightly. "I know, sweetheart, I know, and that's what makes it so special. It wasn't the gift itself. It was your love, your thoughtfulness, and the way you care for me. That's what matters most." Emma smiled faintly, understanding in her own childlike way that sometimes love could create both joy and unexpected challenges. Her innocence and pure intentions had been a reminder to David of why he fought so hard, why he protected her, and why he could never take their life together for granted. The evening passed quietly. David helped Emma with a warm bath, and afterward they sat together, sipping cocoa and talking softly about school, friends, and the small joys that made life meaningful. Despite the tension of the day, these simple moments grounded them, reminding them that life could return to its gentle rhythm even after chaos. David reflected on the events, realizing that bravery was not only about facing external threats, but also about guiding and protecting those we love. He thought about his years in service, the decisions he had made, and the risks he had taken. But none of that compared to the responsibility he felt for Emma, the precious, innocent life he was entrusted to protect. The challenges of the day had reinforced his resolve. He would always do everything in his power to keep her safe, no matter the cost. Emma, curled up beside him, yawned softly. "Daddy, I think I understand now. Bravery, it's not just being strong. It's protecting the people you love even when you're scared." David nodded, a proud smile spreading across his face. "Exactly, sweetheart. That's exactly right." He held her close, feeling the warmth of her small body against his own, a reminder of the love that had carried them through the day's challenges. The snow continued to fall outside, covering the town in a quiet, peaceful blanket. The events of the morning and afternoon had left a mark, but they had survived. David knew that the gift Emma had brought, though innocent, had reminded them both of the fragility of life, the unpredictability of danger, and the importance of courage, love, and trust. He thought about the neighbors, the community, and the ways in which ordinary lives could be interrupted by extraordinary circumstances. But he also thought about how people could rise to the occasion, how courage and determination could overcome fear, and how love, the bond between parent and child, could provide the strength needed to face even the most daunting challenges. As the night deepened, David and Emma prepared for bed. He tucked her in carefully, making sure she was warm and comfortable. "Sleep well, Emma," he whispered. "Tomorrow is a new day, and we'll face it together just like we did today." She smiled, her eyes heavy with sleep. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart," he replied, kissing her forehead. "More than anything." After she drifted off to sleep, David sat quietly in the living room, reflecting on the day. The adrenaline of the encounter had worn off, leaving a quiet, thoughtful calm. He realized that life would always bring challenges, unexpected events, and dangers. But the strength of family, love, and courage would always provide a foundation to withstand them. The memory of the gift, the innocent act that had sparked so much, would remain with him, not as a warning, but as a reminder of the preciousness of the life he was protecting. The night passed peacefully, and when morning came, it brought with it a fresh sense of hope. The streets sparkled under the snow, the air was crisp and clear, and the world seemed calm once more. David and Emma moved through the day with a renewed appreciation for the ordinary joys of life, the laughter of children playing outside, the warmth of a shared meal, and the comfort of simple routines. Emma, bright-eyed once again, ran to her father with a drawing in her hand. "Look, Daddy, I drew us together under the Christmas tree." David smiled, genuinely proud of her creativity and resilience. "It's beautiful, Emma, just like you." He hugged her tightly, feeling the warmth of her love and the strength of their bond. The events of the previous day had changed them, but they had also strengthened them. David understood that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in the face of it. Emma had learned, in her own way, that love and trust could guide people through even the most frightening experiences. As they decorated the Christmas tree together, placing ornaments and lights with care, David reflected on the journey they had been through. The day had started with an innocent gift, moved through a dangerous encounter, and ended with relief and reflection. Life, he realized, was unpredictable, but it was also beautiful in its unpredictability. Moments of joy, love, and connection could exist even alongside fear, challenge, and uncertainty. He looked at Emma, her small hands carefully placing a star atop the tree, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had reminded him of what truly mattered: family, love, and courage. The gift she had brought, though unexpected in its impact, had highlighted these truths in a way he would never forget. As the day turned to evening, David sat with Emma by the fire, sipping cocoa and enjoying the peacefulness that had returned to their home. Outside, the snow continued to fall gently, covering the town in a blanket of quiet beauty. Inside, the warmth of love, courage, and resilience filled their home, stronger than any fear or threat that might arise. David knew that challenges would come again. Life was never without its difficulties. But he also knew that together, he and Emma could face anything. Their bond was unbreakable, their love unwavering, and their courage proven. The events of the past day had tested them, but they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. Emma yawned, resting her head against her father's shoulder. "Daddy, I think I'm ready for Christmas now," she murmured sleepily. David smiled, kissing her forehead once more. "Yes, sweetheart, Christmas is here and we'll enjoy it together." He felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that despite the chaos they had faced, the love they shared would always guide them through. The snow outside continued to fall, silent and pure, reflecting the light from the house and the glow of the Christmas tree. Inside, father and daughter sat together, safe, warm, and connected. The world outside might be unpredictable, but within the walls of their home, love, courage, and hope reigned supreme. And as they drifted into sleep, David made a silent promise. No matter what the future held, he would always protect Emma, cherish every moment with her, and honor the bravery, trust, and love that had carried them through the most difficult day of their lives.